There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome, everybody, to an all-new episode of Bare Knuckle Fighting, main event here on SportsGrid. I'm Brian Ciano, and thank you so much for joining us as we take our weekly look at everything going on in the world of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. And we had more action to ingest. Another card out there in Utah, Salt Lake City, BKFC 65. We'll recap that in just a minute. But before we do, let me tell you what else is going to be coming up on the show, because we got lots going on. We're going to recap that card with some of the fighters involved. We're going to talk to the Misfit, Christine Faria, of course, the flyweight champion who retains her title in rather boring and unwatchable fashion. And that's not her fault. Not taking shots at the champ, because she is a badass. But it just seemed like her opponent, Jad Masan Wong, who we've had on the show, who we like, just didn't want to fight. Didn't want to really take her shot at the title. But somehow there was still a judge that thought she did. We'll break all that down in just a minute, but also we'll talk to Mike Jones, the light heavyweight, who came back into the BKFC for his second fight, getting his first victory with a nice unanimous decision win for him. Later on, we will also talk to the Nightmare Justin Street, who's going to be fighting an bantamweight fight, of course, this weekend. That's right, we're putting the Nightmare on a card Friday, September 13th. Yes, Friday the 13th, the Nightmare Street will be fighting against Justin Ibarola. It's a battle of the Justins. One of them will have to change their name. No, but one of them might drop out of the rankings. Of course, Ibarola in those rankings right now. Street trying to make a name for himself and climb into that top 5 with another victory in the BKFC. So beating a guy like Ibarola could do that for him. Will he be able to? We'll break that down later on. But as I said, let's recap what we just saw this past weekend out in Salt Lake City. And there was plenty of action. Let's not be fooled by the results of the final couple of fights where you had multiple decisions. There were a bunch of finishes, a bunch of first round and second round knockouts. Hell, the whole prelim party had 4 fights in a row to start the fight card where they didn't make it through the first round before someone was finished. 3 of them didn't even make it out of the first minute. You even had some more knockouts later on in round 1 and round 2. A lot of great action, but the 2 fights that mattered the most, the ones that we previewed, the ones that everybody was focused on, both went to decision. One, a very, good decision, a lot of action, although unfortunately, probably more one-sided. One, not much action at all, to lead to some very confusing scorecards. And that one, of course, is for that flyweight title that we just mentioned, Christine the Misfit Faria, defending her title against Jade Masang Wong. Now, of course, Wong gets that chance by multiple wins there, including in Canada, where she headlined the first BKFC card up in Canada, that Prospect Series card, steamrolled her opponent, looked great, 3-1 the BKFC, rises to the top of the rankings, showing some power, beating people like Taylor Starling, Roman, Pittman, names we all know. So, now she gets a shot at the champ. You figure she's going to take her game up a notch because, of course, Faria was 8-1 before this fight, had won 6 in a row, the most, stoppages by a female fighter, longest win streak of any female fighter, most titles defended by any female fighter. You got to up your game to face that champ, right? Wrong. It was a love fest in the way that Jade Masang Wong, for 5 rounds, every time the Misfit got close, grabbed a hold of her. There were some times she threw some punches every now and then, maybe even won the first round by coming forward a little bit more while the Misfit was kind of feeling her out and trying to get her timing down. But for most of the fight, it was Misfit throwing punches, Masang Wong grabbing on, clutching, waiting for the ref to break them up and not doing much of anything. It was very frustrating to watch. It was very frustrating, I'm sure, to be a part of as the Misfit, talked about her frustration throughout that fight. You can go back and watch the post-fight press conference. We're going to play a clip from it in just a minute, but the Misfit herself said, it was a terrible fight. It's not the way she wanted to fight. She was, annoyed by it, that, you're putting on there for all women. You're putting on for the whole division. You're putting on for the BKFC as the headlining of that, that fight card. That you got to show up. You got to want it. You got to put on a show. And she felt her opponent just did not at all. And it was a frustrating night for her. She couldn't put on a show either when you're getting grabbed every 20 seconds every time you get close. So it was just not a good fight. The fans were booing. But in the end, the Misfit Faria gets the decision, which was a split decision. Yes, you heard that right. I talked to you about how Jade Masang Wong barely threw any punches, and somehow a judge gave her a win. 2 of the 3 were smart. 2 out of the 3 gave it to the champion, 49-46. One of them somehow scored it, 49-46, for Jade Masang Wong. That's 4 rounds to 1 for those of you who do not want to do the math. Tell me one other person that you could show that fight to that somehow gives Jade Masang Wong 4 out of 5 rounds, and I will pay you anything and everything in my bank account, which, fair disclosure, isn't that much. But still, I'll give you every dollar I have if you can find one other person besides that judge and maybe someone on Jade Masang Wong's team that thought she somehow won 4 out of 5 rounds and should have walked away with the title. It's embarrassing. I don't know what that judge is doing, but they shouldn't get another BKFC fight. And according to Dave Feldman, I don't think Jade Masang Wong should get another chance at the title either.
Let's go to the main event. I thought it was f***ing awful, honestly. Awful. One of the worst main events we've ever had in history. One of the worst women's fights we've ever had. It was just, if you're fighting for the championship, I think anyone will agree with me. If you're fighting for a championship, you got to go in there. You got to be willing to go out on your shield. And it didn't look like either woman really wanted to get hit tonight. And I was disappointed. And the comments online are telling me that.
When the bosses see you speaking out about the fight like that, it does not bode well for you getting another shot at the belt. Obviously he criticized the Misfit as well, but she holds the title, so she's going to get into the fight. People are going to try to take that title from her. I don't know what's going to go on with Jade Masang Wong after that one. We will see. She posted, trying to say that she thinks both fighters are trying to avoid the power of the other. I only saw one fighter grabbing, and as we said, we've been a fan of her, but that was not a good fight at all. What was, a good fight, a lot of action, a little more one-sided than most people had expected probably, was Jeremy Little Heathen Stevens beating Bobby ODB Taylor. Now, of course, Stevens came in with his first win in the BKFC off that doctor stoppage against Jimmy Rivera. Had almost 50 pro fights before coming into the BKFC. Long-time fighter with the UFC, has fought everybody you can think of at 145, 135. Just huge names up and down his long list of fights. ODB Taylor came in 6-2 in the BKFC. Now he's 6-3. He had a bunch of wins by stoppage. Was looking to get in there and make himself, a guy in title contention. But as you see there, getting dropped by Stevens, got dropped a bunch of times in the later rounds of that fight. And even just from the beginning, it looked like Stevens was just in control the whole time. He looked faster. He looked like he wanted it more. He had more power in that fight. And now 2-0 in the BKFC. Looks like he can get himself in the rankings, maybe get himself in title picture with another win over our top 5 guy, as ODB Taylor was in the rankings. But I think you need one more before we completely jump him into the title picture. But a great fight by him, and had some comments afterwards. A little back and forth with Conor McGregor. They have a history of talking at a UFC presser before. Well, Conor McGregor kind of said, "Who the hell is this guy?" He saw his post, using some salty language there. And then Jeremy Stevens came in there after the fight with the shirt saying, "You know who the fuck I am?" and gave his own little shot in the post-fight presser.
Utah, you guys are some great fans, man. Hey, David Feldman said this is going to be a staple here. I would love to continue fighting here. And Conor McGregor. Who wouldn't love to beat up their boss, baby? I'm living a dream.
Well, he's right on that. A lot of people, I'm sure, would love to beat up their boss, but even more so when you're in the fight game and they're controlling that purse. I don't know if he'll get that chance, so he'd have to wait a while. I think Conor McGregor has at least 2 fights left under the UFC, even though he's a BKFC owner. He still has to wait under that contract. And, of course, we've seen it taking a very, very, very long time for him to get back in the octagon and fight those fights before he can potentially maybe come into the BKFC like he says he wants to do later in his career. But either way, great performance by Jeremy Stevens. Nice win by Christine Faria, even though it was trying circumstances. She gets the victory. When we come back here on Sports, we're going to talk to the champ. We'll talk to the Misfit, find out what she thought of the fight, how she's feeling afterward, and what she wants to do next in defending her title in the BKFC here on Bare Knuckle Fighting Main Event.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there.
Only on SportsGrid.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today. Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circus Sports Million, Circus Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back to the Bare Knuckle Fighting Main Event here on SportsGrid, and we continue to recap this great card we had out in Salt Lake City. Utah bringing it once again. We had some tough fights, some great victories throughout the card, some good finishes early on. Got some decisions at the end. One was, exciting. One, a little controversial to people, a little disappointing. Unfortunately, the Misfit did everything she could to bring the fight, but it did not seem like Jade Masang Wong was up for the task at all. But the Misfit, we have her on now. She retains her title, still the champion, setting all kinds of records for the women. Another title defense, another win. Hasn't been beaten in over 5 years. There's just no one that they put in front of her that even has a chance so far. Christine, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate your time. I know this wasn't obviously your favorite fight of your career, one of your most inspiring performances. You talked about that in the post-fight, that you're out there, you're supposed to be repping the women, you're headlining this card, and it's a great opportunity for you guys, and you just felt like she didn't even show up, like she didn't want to fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very disappointing fight for both of us. We all know my style, we all know my fighting history, we all know how I bring it, and that fight just is extremely disappointing. Like I'm pissed off. It's not sitting right with me. I'm not out here having fun right now, celebrating a win. I feel like I'm sitting on a loss. So this next, I'm looking forward to the next fight. She didn't want to bring me. She I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for words. I don't even know. I'm pissed off, and it settled when I'm in the ring. I'm very respectful. I'm always very respectful, but I'm pissed, and I won't give her a rematch. There's no way. I will never fight her again. The way that we had a main event, the opportunity I'm given, and it turns out like that. I'm pissed. I'm pissed. I'm super upset, dude. And I'm about to go look for a fight out here. I didn't get to release anything. I trained really hard. I put a lot of money into my camps, into my strength and conditioning, to sparring, just a lot of time. Just it sucks. And I know, a lot of people are like, it happens. You can't all the time, but I mean, we get one night to show what we've put in the whole fight. The whole fight camp, and I've never had something like this happen.
Yeah, it was very odd, considering the way that she's fought before. She's been aggressive. In her last fight, she was very aggressive. She came into the weigh-ins, got into your face. It was really aggressive there. It seemed like all the aggressiveness, all the fight that she had, she left at the weigh-ins, getting up in your face then. And, she got up in your face during the fight, but it was really to keep you from throwing with all the clutching and the grabbing. What were you thinking as, you're going through that for 5 rounds of just every time, you get close to her, she's grabbing on you and, getting the clinch and trying to get a break. What was going through your head through those rounds, and what was your corner saying to you as you're going into those breaks in between rounds and just things aren't happening?
Yeah, well, I saw the first jab I landed, it landed right in her eyeball, and it was a pretty fast, hard jab, and that's where I think she knew. I don't know if holding and clinching was plan A or plan B, but she was good at it. Excuse my language. My corner, my coach was just like, bring the fight to her. So I guess I was closing more distance, more than I should have been. But she pops in and out. So, and she was getting under my punches. So anything I was coming over, she would get under hold. I just couldn't. I didn't execute correctly. I didn't close the distance, and I couldn't land what I wanted to land on her. And I knew I only needed 2 or 3. So in my head, I was looking for a knockout. I wanted to knock her out. I want the knockout to be the first ever. So I just think I was looking too much for the big shot. It was very frustrating. I wanted to headbutt her. I wanted to throw her on the ground. I wanted to kick her in the face because it was an MMA fight. She was basically making this an MMA fight. Straight up, hit, clinch, hit, clinch. It might as well have been a jiu-jitsu fight. That's how boring it was. One of my coaches wanted me to stay long. One of my coaches wanted me to bring it to her. I'm glad that I listened to Otis telling me to bring it to her, because if I wouldn't have went forward as much as I did, they would have, I think, gave her that fight, to be honest with you. I had a bunch of judges look at the fight and just wanted to see where they scored it and stuff. And it's crazy that one judge gave her 4 rounds, I believe. I don't
Yeah,
know. It was a
I
crazy
don't know
night.
how, it's one thing when you have a split decision and it's like a 48-47, could have gone either way, but both other judges scored 4 rounds to 1 for you, and all of a sudden you get that one judge scoring your 4-1 the other way, and you can see the disgust on your face when they read that score. Jeff, a lot of people felt the same way. But, you came out afterwards. Obviously, you're very ticked off. She had a post that she put up afterwards trying to explain it, saying that, she thinks you guys are just respecting each other's power and didn't want to give the other one an opening, and that's what it was. But obviously, it was very one-sided on who was, grabbing and who was trying to throw. And I know you've shown frustration continuing here on with us, and also, you put up a post about go ahead and watch my fight, where you pretty much say, if you want to see me beat a blonde OnlyFans girl, go ahead and watch it. Because do you think that all the attention that she had outside of training for this fight, doing things like that, drew away from what this fight could have been?
I don't know. This girl, she needs to go back to the drawing. She needs just a lot of people think they're ready for me, but when they get in there with me and they feel my power, I'm gonna knock somebody the out. Period. Next fight, hopefully soon. I don't know where I'm at with that yet, but I'm waiting on some news. So to redeem myself, I'll be able to somebody out. This next fight, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna beat the out of somebody. If I get the knockout, I'm getting the knockout. I'm not going for the knockout anymore. I don't want it to be boring. I'm bringing the heat. That's all I'm saying.
Well, hopefully we do get that fight soon. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more with the Misfit, the champ, Christine Faria, here on Bare Knuckle Fighting Main Event on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back to Bare Knuckle Fighting Main Event here on SportsGrid. We continue to talk to the Misfit, Christine Faria, the champ, the women's strawweight champ, holding all kinds of records, of course, for most female stoppages, longest win streak of any female, and defending her title for the 4th time, which is also a record for the female division. We continue to talk to her now. I know, we talked about the frustration with the fight. I'm sure a lot of that, not just with the fight itself, but like you said, all the work you put in, the money in your camp that you invested to try to be ready for this fight. You also had a long layoff because of, unfortunately, things that were out of your control. You're supposed to fight Heather Hardy up in Connecticut. She had to retire from combat sports, overall because of the injuries she sustained over her career. What was it like dealing with that long layoff? How frustrating was that part of it? I know you also mentioned in the post-fight that you had put on weight for Cyborg. You called her out after your last fight. You showed up at her boxing match. Is that something that was supposed to be in the works and fell through? And is that something you still want to pursue after this fight?
Yeah, it sucked for the Heather Hardy in the long layoff. It's like these long layoffs, they're pretty tough on me. I mean, I deal with it, and I just keep getting better and better and better at what I'm doing as a fighter. That's what I focus on. I try to in between. I put on weight for Cyborg. Coming down from that sucked. Do I want to pursue that fight? Yeah, I want to fight Cyborg. Do I want to go up and down in weight like that again? Absolutely not. That was horrible. I don't like that. But Cyborg, and to be able to fight a legend, crazy power, crazy fighter like that, I would love to do that. I don't know. I don't know. Dude, my head is still not right from this fight. I'm not cool with it right now. I want to get back in there right now. I want to stay active. Even I don't care who I fight. I don't care. I just want to get back in there. And this is super disappointing to me. We all know how much I put into this, and these are my last couple years in fighting, and to be great. I don't want to, have a whole, I'm preparing pretty much. I did back-to-back camps, 9 months. Right after my last fight with Beck, I started getting ready for Cyborg, putting on weight, and then we went to the Heather Hardy fight, and then I took a couple weeks off, kind of, and then got ready to start getting ready for Jod. So, I'm always ready. I'm always ready. I'm always ready to go. I don't want long layoffs. I think it's bad for fighters. I think, the more you fight, the more. It's not like fight night. It's not shock. You're just used to fight night. You're going out there. You're going to perform. It's going to be natural. Waiting too long is it's too much. It kind of ring rust or whatever you want to call it. But no excuses. We come here. We come to fight. But yeah.
Well, we always know that you put in that work. Whenever you're coming in for a fight, you're always working hard, whether it be against the best men or women that you could find to train. I saw recently you posting the training with Shevchenko out there. What was that like to train with the UFC champ? What were some of the things you guys were picking each other's brains about? How did that go training with the champ?
It was awesome. She's her cardio queen. She doesn't get tired. She hits hard. We did a lot of drilling. We did a lot of like MMA fighters. They do kind of like different styles of like sparring. Like in boxing, we go in and we spar pretty damn hard. Like it's a fight. I feel like MMA fighters are like more of a drillers and just repetitive stuff over and over and over. So it was really cool to get rep her and to be able to. I'm actually a huge fan of Shevchenko. She's like one of my favorite MMA fighters. So it was really special to be able to, share the ring with her and get to feel what she, how hard she hits and her reaction times and stuff like that. And man, it was real dope. And then I was sparring with Ava Knight, and man, she's awesome too. she's a tough girl. I usually don't bring women into my camp, but Ava Knight, man, she's super strong and power in both hands and slick as hell.
And I also saw, obviously, when you went up to Salt Lake, you got to train, somewhere up there. I saw you talking to some kids at one of the local gyms there, putting on a good show for them and giving them a positive message. So keep up the good work there. Hopefully we see you back in the ring again soon. The champ, Misfit Faria, here on SportsGrid.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, you know I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The only streaming sports betting network. Tips, info, and insights to up your IQ. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
New to the Live Golf Plus app. Watch Live Golf any way you want it. Follow any group. Replay any shot. Anytime, anywhere. Any questions? Watch Live Golf live and on demand.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in the Bare Knuckle Fighting main event here on SportsGrid. Great card out in Utah. Now, of course, we just finished up with the misfit Faria. Not exactly the fight that she wanted or that anybody wanted to watch in that one. Not the kind of fight she usually gives us, but of course, things did not go the way that she wanted, although she does get the victory. Another person who got a victory on that card, but definitely had a much more exciting fight and was able to do what they wanted against their opponent, was Mike Jones, who joins us now on the show, getting his first win in the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships. Mike, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. Congratulations on the win, beating Diego Romo this past Saturday out there in Salt Lake.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it was a good night.
Definitely was. Things went your way. You got, a big, knockdown against him, but even that didn't matter. 50-44 on all 3 judges' scorecards. You dominate him through all 5 rounds. You get the first win there after, of course, fighting on the other Utah card before, and unfortunately coming out the other side against Lozano. What was the biggest thing for you between your first and second fights in the BKFC? What do you think? Were there any changes you made you feel like put you over the edge? Any things that you didn't realize when you came into the first fight that you knew for this one? Or was it just a matter of the opponents and, you execute your game plan the way you wanted to?
Just the pace is different with BKFC. I underestimated the 2-minute rounds. I used to doing 5-minute rounds for, my MMA fights, and I underestimated that. Like Romo and Lozano, they fight pretty similar. I underestimated those rounds, and I got really tired against Lozano, so I was able to learn the pacing a little different and manage my energy this time.
Well, you did a great job with it. You pull out the victory here now, 1-1 in the BKFC. You mentioned MMA, where you are a champion in the Fierce FC, fight series there. What drew you to come to the BKFC and try that out while you're still, reigning title holder over there? Was it just the chance to do something different? Was it, what was it that drew you in here? The chance to fight in front of the hometown fans. What was it that drew you to the BKFC here and continues to have you fight with the organization?
Yeah, BKFC reached out, and, if they're fighting here in Utah, I love to fight here. I love to fight in front of my fans. And my goal when I got into fighting was to fight on a bigger stage. And BKFC provides that. They're a huge platform. And that was one of my goals when I got into fighting, was to make it to a bigger stage. So when they came calling, I answered that, man. It was no brainer.
He's done a great job with it so far. I mean, are you planning to go back and forth between the two as that continues on? And if so, what's it difference for you in training? What do you have to do? Is it a different mindset you have to focus on? Is there, if you fight in the BKFC, you just focus on just the stand up, or do you still mix everything in there within your training just to keep the same routine? What's it like for you going back and forth between the two disciplines?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, I plan on still fighting MMA and doing BKFC when they're in town, or I'm to the point where I wouldn't mind traveling a little bit as well. As far as training camp goes, I keep it pretty well the same. When I got a BKFC fight, yeah, I mean, I focus on my hands. I don't wrestle as much. I don't grapple. My body feels a lot better, I'll tell you that. But training camp, pretty much the same. Just focus a little more on the hands when I got a BKFC fight.
Well, it's worked out well for you so far, and we like here on the show to get to know the fighters a little bit more, get a little more of their backstory, and let the fans find out that side of you as well, besides just what they see in the squared circle. I was looking back at some of the other interviews you've done, and talking about how having your daughter change you, that you had to kind of change the way you were doing it, and maybe get a little harder on the living instead of a little harder on the life, a little harder on the living. You even took a job in a coal mine once you found out that you're going to be a father. To tell people a little bit about that and about your backstory that don't know you that well, and only the two fights with the BKFC.
Yeah, man, I grew up in small town Utah. I think my high school had about 400 kids total, 450 kids maybe, small school, coal mining community. So and that's kind of the life there. You graduate high school and go work in a coal mine until you retire and die. So yeah, that's kind of my, that's where I grew up. And I mean, I wrestled my whole life, so I was competitive there. And I just decided bucket listing to take a fight. And after that first fight, I fell in love and started training every single day after that. And here we are. But having the kids, that definitely changes your mindset. Like, yeah, you want to be able to provide for them. So I've always made sure I've done that first, and fighting's been a hobby. But now I'm to the point where now I can focus on fighting too and do both. So it's working out right now.
Well, that's great. It's hard to pull that multiple focuses when you got to do that when you're early stages of your career and you're fighting to provide for the family and for your career. There's a lot of time away, a lot of time pulled in all directions, hard to focus. So that's great to hear that now you can kind of lock in a little more on the fight career, because I'm sure that gives more time to the family as well. What do they think of Daddy in there, in the squared circle, mixing it up? Have they watched you yet, or do we still keep them away from that until they're a little older?
They're into it. They've been to the last probably 5 or 6 fights. My oldest is 13 and my boy is 10. They both compete in wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and they both are into boxing now as well. So they kind of understand the competition side of it, and they love being there. And then my wife was a undefeated Muay Thai fighter, so she understands the lifestyle too. So they're very supportive. They're there 100% every time.
It's got to be a lot of help having someone who comes from that realm as well to kind of get the sacrifice and the things you have to do when you're getting ready for a fight, I'm sure. But now you mentioned the wrestling background, and your son's doing wrestling as well. What's been the transition like from you to doing, just when you get in the BKFC and you're really taking that out of it? And while that was your base, I know a lot of your wins in your career before were by strikes. So is it just, easier training on the body, easier to just focus on the stand-up when you have these BKFC fights, or is it kind of a rewiring of your base fight instincts from your days of being a wrestler?
No, it hasn't really changed much. Yeah, like I always say, I'm a wrestler just because that's my base. But I've really never used it in any of my MMA fights. Usually all my MMA fights have been, boxing, striking anyways. So I haven't really had to use any wrestling in any of my MMA fights, or very much anyways. I enjoy the striking. I enjoy it. Like I wrestled my whole life, so I think it's not as fun for me. So then once I started to learn how to strike and box, I fell in love with that. So I mean, that's what comes through when I fight anyways. So
Now you get your first win in the BKFC. Both your fights have been in Utah, in your home state. Has there been any talk with the higher ups in the BKFC of maybe bringing you elsewhere, taking you on the road, and doing getting you in there a little bit more with the organization now that you have that win, or is that something you wait to hear from them, and it's just when they come to you, it is what it is, and right now you're going to focus on, you're just going to keep getting ready and prepared until the next fight comes?
Yeah, I haven't had any talks with them. I'm just going to stay patient, stay training, and hopefully they call me soon. Especially, I heard they're coming back to Utah. They're going to be coming back 4 times next year is what I was told. So I'm sure they'll want me on those cards too. So I'll just stay training and be ready for when they come back.
There you go. That makes it easier. You don't even have to go on the road. You can just stay at home. Come if they're going to be in Utah that many times, that makes it a lot busy schedule for you. Mixing, of course, in the title defense there with your MMA career. What is there anybody that you're looking for in the BKFC? Anybody that you've seen fight now that you've been around a little bit and just thought that you can match up well against them, or just generally want to punch them in the face and don't like them? Anything like that going on with you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have any names. I need to pay attention a little better. But just anybody that's going to move me up in the rankings. I would like to move up and see what I can do. I'm 34 years old, so I don't have a huge ceiling. I mean, BKFC that I'm seeing is a lot older guys that are still competing. I just want to make a run for it and fight some guys that are going to be ranked higher and see if I can put my name in that mix.
Well, Mike Jones, thank you so much for joining us. Congrats on the win over Diego Romo. We're looking forward to seeing you there in the square circle again soon. Heal up fast, and hopefully we can get you back in there fighting for the BKFC again.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of a week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back to Bare Knuckle Fighting main event here on SportsGrid. Now we gotta stop looking back and keep looking forward now as we have more fights coming up this weekend. Lots of action over the last couple months here for the BKFC, and we go right into a new card, new fight venue, and a whole new stacked lineup down in Hollywood, Florida this weekend. It's Friday, September 13th. That's right, Friday the 13th. We got fights going. One of the guys going to be on there. I mean, if you got a Friday the 13th card, you got to bring a guy like the Nightmare Street on with you to fight down in Hollywood, Florida. Justin Street joins us right now, fighting against Justin Ibarola this weekend. Justin, thanks so much for coming on with us during fight week. How are the final preps going as you get ready to head down to Hollywood? How are you on? How's the weight feeling? How's camp been as you get ready for this big matchup?
I can't complain. I mean, I have the best training camp. I have the best training people around me, training partners, coaches, staff. I have the best manager. I couldn't ask for a better platform to come in. Friday the 13th, and come and represent the Nightmare Street, and and it's a dream come true. The last little bit of preparations, everything's going smooth. I only have a couple more pounds to lose, probably like 4. Other than that, everything's good. We fly out tomorrow. Should be landing around 1 o'clock and get right after it.
We're looking forward to it. It's going to be an awesome card. You guys should put on a great fight. The two Justins going at it here. And now, before we get into that fight specifically, obviously it's going to be your second fight in the BKFC. You had that first win over Sanchez, that decision win. What's it been like for you making the transition from your fighting days with MMA and boxing before to the BKFC? Has a big adjustment for you? Changing how you train, or are there certain things you do, what you have to focus on, or is it just business as usual and you just maybe focus a little more on the stand-up when you have a fight with no gloves?
I mean, stand-up is where I've always been. Stand-up is what I've always done. Even when I did MMA, I wasn't really known for going to the ground or anything like that. Nobody would stand and bang with me. So that's what kind of like forced me to come back to the boxing stage. Just luckily for me, it was BKFC. It hasn't really been much of a transition. Like I said, I've been doing bare knuckle my whole life. I grew up in a rough neighborhood, being the only white family in the neighborhood, or in the trailer park, I should say. I mean, it's constantly been a battle. I mean, having to grow up back to back with your little brother and fighting off, everybody else because they want your shoes or they want your shirts or whatever else. So I mean, making the transition over to bare knuckle, no, it hasn't really made a big difference or anything like that. Yes, I do train harder, more in my stand up now. I love, my footwork. I love to utilize my footwork and my hand speed. So, I mean, I always try to increase that. I always try to better that. And if, there's room for growth, I mean, I'm always looking for it.
Well, now you got this big matchup here against Ibarola, who, of course, is 4-0 so far in the BKFC. So you guys going back and forth on another show before, talking that trash, getting ready for this fight. What do you see as you study him and get ready for this? What are you seeing in the tape that you think serves you well, that you could take advantage of and use him as a stepping stone to maybe climb into those rankings?
Yes, sir. Me, truthfully, I mean, who has he fought? I mean, can we go back to that? I mean, I know I keep saying this, but again, this guy has not fought anybody. He's fighting guys that go to work the next week. He's not fighting a guy that is willing to take a hit to give a hit back. He's going to hit me. I'm going to smile at him. That's the difference between me and everybody else that he's fought. I like to get hit. That's what I live for. That's why I do this, because I love that physical interaction that, what I'm saying, when somebody hits you with their best shot and, you're able to sit there and walk through it or whatever else. I mean, I feel like that's my secret weapon. I feel like that's my power. I mean, I have a chin of steel and I'm going to walk through any punch you throw at me. And I've been doing this for 17 years. So when you put that into perspective, I've already seen it all. There's nothing that this kid can throw at me in the stand-up game that I haven't already seen or I haven't already prepared for or I haven't already beat.
We're looking forward to seeing you put that game plan into practice here now as you go down to Hollywood, Florida. What do you think of, they have obviously a lot of BKFC fights down there. Have you been there before to see what it's been like? How do you feel about that? And what do you think about this card? It's a pretty good card from top to bottom. How excited are you to be part of this?
Oh, I'm blessed. I mean, a huge thank you to Dave Feldman, Conor McGregor, and the whole BKFC staff for making this opportunity possible. I also want to thank my manager, Carlos, for giving me this opportunity. I've been to Florida once. I was in Florida February 2nd. I was supposed to fight Rambo Russo. Things didn't go out right, whatever else, some controversy. So to come back this time, it's definitely, I definitely want to show the Florida crowd who I am, and let them know what they missed out on February 2nd.
And, as we've seen on the internet many times, is anybody who enjoys, guys just from the streets brawling and putting on a show. It's the Florida crowd. A lot of them grew up that same way. So I'm sure Hollywood, is going to be packed there at the Seminole Hard Rock for all of you guys doing battle. Of course, that's going to be topped that card by the championship bout in this division with Blas versus Reber. What do you think of that fight? Have you been watching these guys at all as you've been, studying and trying to climb up these rankings?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, I want to become the first 3-crown champion for BKFC history. So, I mean, obviously that's, that keeps my eyes open on a lot of the divisions, the 135, the 125, the 145. Those are the 3 titles. Those are the 3 titles I want, and those are the 3 titles that I'm chasing. Do I think Antonio Blas can beat Ryan Reber? Absolutely not. I think that Ryan Reber is going to pick him apart because Antonio Blas is going to be looking for one big shot that just isn't there.
Well, we're looking forward to that fight as well as yours this coming weekend, Friday, the 13th. Justin, the Nightmares Treat will be out there. We're looking forward to seeing you fight. Overall, thanks so much for your time.
Hey.
It's a new era in CFB to start off this year, put on full display.
My take on this game is simple. I know some people will be upset about it. Good riddance to the Pac-12.
Can you do it in terms of the week to week to week?
I don't see a pathway for this team to miss the college football playoffs.
We want to make sure you have those best bets in the entirety of our betting cards.
That was
Lincoln!
But he had that program was already going there!
Only on SportsGrid.
He had 4 grabs in the first half for just over 30 yards, was injured, came back in briefly, and then had to be carted off.
We were pessimistic on Puka Nakua's injury to the same right knee, of that being a nothing, just a bursa, and that's it, as per Sean McVay. We felt there could be a small PCL component.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
You know what? What can one of these quarterbacks or wide receivers do for me this year to make a wager? It's got to be the running conditions there for Jaden Daniels.
In regards to Jaden Daniels, I was on him in regards to the Heisman Trophy. I actually think he's going to do it on the ground, through the air, 40 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, playing in Cliff Kingsbury's offense where he wants to spread it and throw it. I think he's going to put up dynamic numbers.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The sharpest football contest show in the land, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, focuses on Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, and the Westgate Super Contest, handicapping the games and releasing our contest picks every week of the season. With 2 former Super Contest winners, Brady Cannon and James Salinas, a former NFL player, Mike Pritchard, and over $1 million in contest prize money won combined, the Las Vegas Football Contest Show will have you prepared this season like none other.
Welcome back into Bare Knuckle Fighting main event here on SportsGrid. Appreciate you all joining us this week as we took our weekly look at everything going on in the world of the Bare Knuckle Fighting Championships, back and forth between 2 events. Of course, just finished up that BKFC 65 out in Salt Lake City, Utah last week. Now we go right into another fight card on Friday the 13th down in Hollywood, Florida. A lot of great fights here on KFC 66 as well. We'll break that down in just a minute, but thanks so much to our guests as well. The flyweight champ, the misfit, Christine Faria, light heavyweight, Mike Jones, and bantamweight, the nightmare, Justin Street. Of course, perfect for fighting on Friday the 13th. We'll can't wait to see what he does. Let's talk about that fight and all the others going on as we get ready for this great fight down in Florida. It's going to start off with a bantamweight title fight, the first title defense of Alberto Blas. Now, of course, Blas has just been ripping through that division. A tough dude, hasn't even gotten out of the first round. I thought that Keith Rockstar Richardson would give him a tough fight, the seasoned veteran that he was in fighting and in life, and just steamrolled him. He knocked him silly and unfortunately took the belt from, well, not unfortunately for him, but unfortunately for Keith, took the belt from him. And we hope he's recovering well from that. And now he puts it on the line for the first time. Undefeated 5-0, and he'll take on another undefeated fighter in Royal Ryan Reber. 6-0 in the BKFC, coming off a win over Anthony Foy. The question is going to be who controls this fight? What style? And you always talk about that with styles make fights, but you know what? Blas, as we said, not out of the first round. Comes in, tries to steamroll you, tries to just destroy the man in front of him. Ryan Reber kind of likes to take it slow, find his timing, pick a guy apart. Is he going to be able to do the counter move that Rockstar Richardson and others have not? Or is Blas just going to go right through him? I mean, I'm not going to say that he's going to steamroll him. Ryan Reber is tough, but I just don't like the comparison styles. I know that Nightmare Street was saying that Ryan Reber is going to do whatever he wants, pick him apart. I just don't like trying to stay back and pick apart a guy who just doesn't care if you hit him and is just going to come straight at you until he gets his hands on you. That's a little bit dangerous to me. I think it's going to be a great fight either way, but if you follow Blas and what he does, it could be a short fight. He's enjoying being the champ too. I saw stuff on social media about him being thrown out the first pitch at a Marlins game. So he's living it up down there in the Miami area. You see him there with the ball, the belt, the mascot. He's doing his thing as the BKFC champ, getting some publicity down in Miami. So hopefully he can keep getting that publicity, for him. But we'll see. It's going to be a great fight either way for the fans. Looking forward to it. Now, the co-main event of this one was supposed to be a fight between Dave Mundell, the redneck, not putting his belt on the line, but coming up and waiting, fighting King Mo. That was pulled off. Now we know for sure. We got the official word a couple weeks ago that it is Dave Mundell going to Spain to fight Danny Christie, of course, a former champion in the BKFC UK. So that is going to be very interesting. That's going to be a great fight and makes that card even better. But don't lose out much in this one because now the co-main event is a lightweight fight between Howard H.D. Davis and James Get Down Brown. Two guys who are very exciting, very long fighters from the area. Of course, H.D. Davis coming off the Pete Town Wilson fight down in Miami where he got back on the winning ways after losing to Kai Stewart. Get Down Brown, undefeated still, 3-0 in the BKFC. It's been exciting, has got some power, some pop, as we said, that length. Both these guys ranked featherweight fighters, so it's interesting that they're fighting at lightweight and what the implications are going to be. If you get a win over the other, does that improve your standing in the featherweight division? Or are both these guys just tired of cutting down and decided that they're just going to stay at lightweight and that's what's best for them? Either way, we get a great fight between two awesome fighters. It should be, one to enjoy for a good amount of time. It might be for the whole 5 rounds because both these guys are pretty tough, but they could also get the finish. I'm expecting this one. Oof, that's tough. I think right now that I'm going to go with Get Down Brown. H.D. Davis looked great against Pete Town Wilson, but against the tougher competition, we've kind of seen different sides of him. So I don't know if I can completely believe that he's going to beat this guy who's on the rise right now. Let's take a chance with the streaking guy who was undefeated. Then you want to talk about streaking fighters. Heavyweight fight between Perdomo and Banks. Now, of course, everyone in the BKFC lately has been watching Leonardo Perdomo. We've seen him just dropping fools left and right. El Zombo coming in there, just getting knockout after knockout, climbing himself into those heavyweight rankings, number 4 right now. And I'm sure a lot of people are just expecting him to go right through Panda Banks. But Steve Banks has been doing pretty damn well himself over in the UK. 3-1, his only loss coming against the champion, Mick Terrell. So that's nothing to shake a stick at. Now, does he come in here and upset this guy who's on a heater, or does he suffer his second straight loss? We will see. Until I see someone have a chance against Perdomo, I can't put my money on them. Also, as I said, Ibarola and Street fighting in this one. I like Street, I like his tenacity, but we've seen a lot more from Ibo Rolo. I have to roll with him right now in this fight. All great fights, BKFC 66, Friday the 13th. Make sure to check him out on the app, on the website, and we'll check you out next week to recap all the action.